There we are,
I
Sam. Hi, how are you? It's
very good, Jeff. How are you?
I'm very well. You're sideways for some reason. I don't know.
Oh yeah,
Does that
sure.
make sense?
No. I will do like this.
Oh, perfect.
Okay.
Sam, it's
Yeah.
so nice to see you.
Great to see you too. I'm very happy to see you.
So,
But still, we are at home.
say what?
We're still at home, not
You are.
outside like you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, that's what I want to talk about because I was lucky enough to have friends offer their house in Connecticut. They have a big house with a deck and a spare room, and they said, "Why don't you just come up here?" And I thought it was going to be for 2 weeks, and I grabbed, clothes for like a week, and
Yeah.
now it's a long time. So, anyways, I just want to introduce you first of all, and then I'll have you introduce yourself. But we went on a trip last year.
Yeah.
Zonin, which is a wine family in Italy, invited us over, and it was really special to me because it was another friend, Sarah Tracy from New York, but then it was you from Moscow, Lindsay from Dubai, and then everybody else. I mean, it was like Lithuania and Estonia and Italy, and it was such a great because usually I travel with Americans, and so it was just so special to meet people like you around the world. And we bonded so quickly. Everybody became very good friends very quickly. That's why
Oh yeah.
it was
Yeah.
only like 4 or 5 days, but I feel like I'm seeing an old friend. So would you start by introducing yourself? Tell us your name, what your job is, and then kind of your story in wine, how you came up from in the wine world to where you are.
Okay. Yeah. First of all, that was a wonderful trip. Yeah, that was very good. The atmosphere was fantastic. So we got on friends very quickly. That was awesome,
Yeah,
really.
it was great.
Yeah. So my name is Sam, which is much more easier to pronounce for Western people, for Americans as well. But in Russian, my name is Semyon. So Sam is much easier.
Yeah.
Yep. So I'm working in the wine sphere for almost 15 years. And actually, I started as a wine advisor in the shop
Oh,
and was just, yep, like a cavist, was advising the wines in a very small one, in a very small shop. And my boss was looking at me, and at that time, like 15 years ago, um, I was speaking English and was very good for foreigners
oh,
who came like a tourist to Moscow, and I was ready to talk to them and to advise something. So it was a good opportunity for me to grow a little bit. Yeah, and actually, my education was not related to the wine. Yeah, I was studying for policy. And when I got to the wine sphere, that was interesting for me. I started to know about wines more and more, and it was really involving into the sphere. So in a few years, the person who for some um, for the whole department of wines in a wine trade company for importing the wines from the
oh,
New World. Yeah. Yeah,
okay.
so it took me a couple of years to become a senior import manager for the wines from New World, like Australia, New Zealand, South Africa.
And did
Yep.
you import American wines also?
Yeah, but unfortunately, it was not my field of.
I see.
Uh,
Okay.
yeah. But I was very looking for the Californian wines
Uh-huh.
and was very happy to work with them later. Yeah.
And then so
Um,
so how did you move into restaurants then?
Oh, as I said, I was responsible for inputs the wines, and I was also responsible for organizing the wine tours to countries which I import from for our clients of our company. That was some sort of VIP wine tours for
Uh-huh.
very special clients like that. And on one of the trip, we were going with some of the restaurants, with the responsible for the restaurants. Um, and we went to Vienna, to Austria. I was
Very
showing, yeah. I was showing some vineyards in Vienna, in Austria, in Krems, in Cantal. Yeah, and the group was the head of restaurant group, like Novikov.
hmm
Yeah, and they liked the atmosphere. Like we had an atmosphere in Zamin last year.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
So yeah, in couple of months they they advised me to work with them. Yeah, and made an offer to come to Novikov Group to be responsible for the restaurants.
That's a
I was very
huge
happy.
job, though, right? That's a huge
Yeah,
job.
yeah.
How many restaurants, and what do you day to day? What do you do? What is your job?
Well, I'm responsible for the wine lists in almost, let's say, 85 restaurants in Moscow. Yeah, it's quite
That
big.
makes me like itch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, I'm responsible for the commercials and for the marketing as well
Wow.
with the wine trade companies. Yeah, in Moscow, like the distributors and importers as well.
Hmm.
And we're talking about the wine lists of the restaurant. I try to give the recommendations, and I'm advising what kind of wine list could be in a very special restaurant because, of course, we have sommeliers in almost every restaurant, but yeah, yeah, and they are ready to make their job as well. So
Hmm.
I mean, they're responsible for the wine list in the restaurant. But talking the whole group, the whole restaurant group, I'm given the recommendation of what kind of wine list should be according to the concept of the kitchen, according to the traffic of the restaurant, and the other stuff. Yes, so
So,
I'm like, yeah.
so what is popular for restaurants? Like in New York, it's a lot of French, a lot of Italian. There's a lot of like I guess you would say continental or new, modern cuisine that all would have wine lists. Chinese is
Mhm.
popular, but generally you don't think of it as a wine destination. And the best ones actually allow you to bring your own wine, and that's why a lot of Soms go to those. What's the restaurant scene like in Moscow? What are popular restaurants, and what kind of wines are people drinking?
Talking about the restaurants, of course, Moscow is, more classic, more traditional, and let's say historical place for the restaurants. And since last few years, I guess, the kitchen was very, transforming and
Hmm.
giving the new ideas from the West. But what was for all the years is like really Italian cuisine.
Hmm.
The French one, yes. We were getting to the steaks, to the meats restaurants, but the most popular were always like Italian food, home food, like French cuisine,
Hmm.
and Pan Asian. Pan Asian was
Oh
also
yeah,
very,
sure.
yeah, yeah. So talking about the wine lists were also very classic. People were not following the trends.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, we were like very stable for many years, drinking good Bordeaux, Burgundy. Of course, it was in the very beginning of the wine culture in Russia because it was developing not so quickly like in the
Yeah.
Western countries, unfortunately. And at late 90s, people have had good money, let's
Hmm.
say like this, and they spend them for very good wines, like for Burgundy, for super Tuscany wines, for very, very expensive wines.
Hmm.
But after a few years, it was slowing down, and nowadays we are drinking also traditional wines like from Italy, from France, from Spain, from Austria, from Germany, but not so expensive like we used to do.
Yeah, yeah. It comes and goes with the economy here over,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So, but there's a new thing happening here with, and I don't even know what constitutes a millennial. Are you familiar with that expression? A millennial? It's,
Sorry?
are you familiar with the expression millennial? It's the young people between, say,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
20.
Two
So
thousands. Yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
they're really into wine, and it's having an impact that, I mean, Bordeaux's still selling very well, and Burgundy, but it is a little pricey. And young people who aren't able to, say, blow that kind of money every night are really into the unusual stuff, pet nat, new
Yeah.
regions and unusual grapes are getting really interesting because they're more affordable. And it's kind of like the exploring is kind of cool. But then in restaurants, very often people just want a bottle of Sancerre because they're to see their friends and they just want something simple. Does that happen over there too?
Yeah, like for 2 years, or it started very quickly. We even didn't notice that. The trend came in Moscow, in our wine bars, in the restaurants very quickly, and we were really surprised because people starting to ask for the wines like this,
Hmm.
not for the traditionals like we used to have in the wine list, and we were not ready to
Oh,
give the opportunity to have these wines. Yeah, so in 2 years there was like a boom for petnuts, for orange wines,
yeah.
for biodynamic wines, for something like that. But I would say that um, let's say 1 year ago it was also slowing down, and now people came back to what they used to have
Yeah.
previously. So it was like yeah, it was like a boom. It was like yeah,
Yeah. And then are people like there's more and more interest in organic, and it's kind of weird because sometimes people think they don't want sulfites because sulfites are the devil, but sometimes they'd rather. So there is interest in organic and biodynamic. Is that happening as well?
yeah. There are some facts in the restaurants, and there are the wine list, especially devoted to the organic wines. Not even a block of the wine list, but the whole wine list,
Oh yeah.
the wine bar. Yeah. Totally with organic wines and
Uh,
biodynamic and something like that. Yeah,
and do you have a lot of wine bars over there? Because that's kind of exploding right now. People are having, and there's really
yeah,
good wine bars by very famous somms who are very respected. And then there's smaller, just everyday, they're lovely, but they're not, there's a couple of wine bars that every wine director will stop at when they come, or every winemaker will stop at. And then there's neighborhood places that you just fall in love with. Do you have that kind of a wine bar
yeah.
scene also?
Yes. It's getting more and more popular, and they are opening very fast and in a very strange locations, because normally we used to think that Moscow is totally the center of the wine living or the kitchen living. I mean, all the good restaurants are located in the center of Moscow.
Right.
But the tendency, for now is that very good places with a very good kitchen, with a very good wine list are opening um, outside the center, not so far of the countryside, let's say, and very small wine shops and wine boutiques and wine bars with the wine professionals who came out from the center and go to the outside, yeah, and open a very good wine bar there.
It's striking how similar, because that's exactly what it is in New York. It's more so in Brooklyn, but you have it in New Jersey and Jersey City. You have it in Queens, a little bit in the
Yeah.
Bronx. It's that's fascinating to hear. Um,
Yeah.
so what do you drink when you're after a night of work or when you're off?
Well, I would say that now I'm drinking Cometa
Oh,
from Cometa.
what time is it there?
So it's 5 p.m., I guess. Yeah.
So you're only 7 hours. Oh, okay, great. So tell me again
Hmm.
what you're drinking.
So it's Puneta from Sicily.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, yeah. It's 100% Fiano, so one of
Oh,
my
okay.
favorites. Yeah.
Yeah.
But normally, I like very easygoing wines, like not too heavy, not very full-bodied. That they can make the end of the day very easy.
That's
So
a good way
just
of
having a
putting it.
glass. Yeah. But of course, we drink some uh, super Tuscany wines with like, okay, Argentina, Bulgarian. Can you see that?
Uh-huh. Just
Yeah,
just
one of
happen
my
to have that
favorites.
laying around.
Oh yeah, yeah. But normally it goes like for Sauvignon Blanc or from I don't know, from New Zealand or uh, from Rhone, some sort
Yeah.
of that. Yeah,
Yeah, I find I mean we all still love the big reds. I think we save them for dinner and special occasions or a big night of eating, but when I'm off, I'm drinking white wine, something crisp, easy,
yeah,
fresh. Yeah. That's it's so international. There's so much politics going on about how we're so different, but that's one thing I remember from meeting you. So it's like you're just another guy, another country, a lovely person, and we can still be friends. And it's like it's so cool to know that. And
exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
shocked by how similar things are. Um,
yeah. But the only thing that we are a little bit, I would not say so actually, but we are a little bit slow to take the trends of the western part of the world, because when you have already started with the good wine ideas in the wine bars, or you were going with the wine trends in the US or in Europe, it takes 1 or even 2 or even 3 years to come to Russia, to
Mm,
Moscow especially, and then spreading all over the regions in the Russia.
right.
So I would be happy if it could be more faster, actually, but
Yeah,
unfortunately, yeah.
things happen. But so if you
Yeah.
do you have the same like New York? Well, so getting wine in New York, there's they call it a three-layer system. There's the importer, and then there's the distributor, and then there's the seller. So the
Mhm.
three-tier system. Um, some states are a little bit different, and then there's people like Sweden, Canada, and Pennsylvania is like that. How how is your system set up? If you've discovered that orange wine are popular, you do your research, you find out which five you want. How did they get to Russia, and how long does it take, and what's the system?
Well, normally, actually, we have a quite stable wine atmosphere, let's say, with a lot of wine of companies that are importing the wine. So the system is quite simple to my mind because we have an import company that finds good wines through
Hmm.
the exhibitions, through the wine expo, for wine or something like that, or directly with the wine producer, and they can bring it to Russia and distribute by themselves. So they don't need any
Oh,
kind of seller. Yeah, yeah.
okay.
So the import company actually acts like a distributor as well.
I see. So you're
Yeah.
buying
Uh,
from the, so they just bring it in directly and then bring it to you. Do you have warehouse
yeah.
capabilities?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Ah, and this,
So, mhm.
go ahead.
If we talk about the big import companies, there are about, let's say, from 15 to 20 companies like that in Russia, and they're doing almost the whole import of all the wines through the Russia.
Hmm.
But if you find something special and like for the Novikov group finds a special wine
Hmm.
and wanted to have this very exclusively in their restaurants, we can ask some of the import company or we can ask the technical import company to bring it here.
Hmm.
Uh, that will take, let's say, about 2 months
Hmm.
probably with the registration, with the technical support, with the custom support, and so on.
Yeah.
And in 2 months, I think from we find the wine, it can
Hmm.
be in the restaurants.
And
Yeah.
so, and it's held, Novikov has storage, you would hold it yourself and then distribute it internally, or?
And no, no, Novikov doesn't have the storage,
Okay.
so we use our technical partners and
I
also
see.
import companies.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we have our own import, like technical import, that we have found from the different wine producers and asked our import partners to bring it here to Russia
Yeah.
and have exclusively brands in the wine restaurants.
So, just I'm sure real estate's expensive in Moscow. In New York, the same. I don't have. I mean, I have 4,000 bottles, say, in my restaurant, and it's a small, old, it's an old building in a very compact part of
Yeah.
the city. But I can order wine as long as I order by 4 o'clock. It's delivered the next day, and I do that two, three times a week. Is it similar? How kind of you do that over there?
Um, Not actually, because the storage of the wine in the restaurant is quite complicated, you know.
Mm.
And yeah, first of all, you have to be very strict to the regulations of the government to store the wine
Oh.
in the restaurant and so on and so on. And um, the total area of the restaurant could not be very big and could not be very uh, suitable for having lots of wine
I see.
in the storage. Yeah, so normally it takes one day
Hmm.
or a couple of hours to bring some wine that you don't have on the stock from
Hmm.
the other place, so you could have it in
Oh,
the restaurant.
okay. Yeah, and it's generally I don't age anything. I will sometimes I buy maybe 12 cases a year of like Burgundy that I want that I buy on direct import with a little bit better price, and so I
Yeah,
have like three vintages of a few Burgundies, but other than that I just kind of let the distributors hold on to it and buy it as I need it.
yeah. But yeah, you are selling the wines to the to your partners, to your clients. Yeah, am I
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you have a place where you store the wine and then you spread it all over the clients.
Yeah, I have my cellar is I'll buy, say I want to buy a case of 95 Palmer. I know it's going to take me 4 years to sell it, but it's available and I buy it. I don't do that very often. But
Hmm.
if I have a Chateauneuf du Pape that I know it'll take me 6 months to sell it, I'll buy that case because
Hmm.
of that case. It's that kind of thing that it's sitting
Yeah.
around. But otherwise, it's
Yeah.
day-to-day moving stuff.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you. I have a whole list of things I was going to ask you. I think this is unique to New York a little bit, but probably not. That there's a very big Italian population from the centuries
Oh
of
yeah.
New York, and so kids grow up drinking Italian, and so there's still a big people. Just the default wine is Chianti because the Italian population. Another default wine is Sancerre because I think people think it's sophisticated to say a French word. It's easy drinking, it's affordable, and
Yeah.
it just stays on there.
Like Chablis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
California Chardonnay was very hot 10 years ago, and you still have some remains of
Hmm.
that. Is that kind of thing happen in Russia that you have certain wines that are just everyday sellers for various reasons?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and
So. Mhm.
yeah, what are some of
Yep.
those and maybe the reasoning?
Um, let's say German Riesling.
Oh,
Yeah. Sauvignon Blanc from New Zealand.
oh, okay.
Chianti definitely. Any kind of Chianti is
Yeah.
100% in the wine list for a glass.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So and of course like Chablis, Sancerre as well. Yeah. These are the most popular and the most easygoing and the fast-going wines in the wine list. So they're almost for the glasses. They're always very fast turning over.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
I would sell a lot of New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc, but my list, because it's a classic New York restaurant, I kind of stay old world for the
Hmm.
most part. But Riesling is a hard sell in the States these days. Psalms all love it, but why are people liking Riesling? They like the sweet, or just it's a historical overhang?
Let's say it's also like a trend, which was started recently, like let's say a couple years ago as well.
Hmm.
So there was a good opportunity for German wine producers to make a very good advertisement of the Riesling
Okay.
in Moscow in the restaurants, and they were coming very often to Moscow, showing the products and organizing the exhibitions and the wine fairs with Rieslings, and not only with Rieslings, of course.
Hmm.
And people were getting very well with this
Oh,
variety, and they liked it. Also, the price was quite reasonable in the restaurant, and also it was very good matching with the food in at that time in the restaurant. So it was like an Asian food and some sort of that. Yeah. So it was very and very popular, like for 3 years, and it's still very popular.
hmm.
Uh, it's quite reasonable wine, yeah.
Um, this is a I think this would be a hard question for me to answer. When I say what is American cuisine, I'm going to say steak and potatoes, hamburgers and fries, and then, local, fish, whatever. But in Russia, you have there's a style of food, it's like little bites.
Little bites.
It's
What kind
like you
of?
set a big table and people kind of help themselves, I think. Is that like
Oh, probably
old
yeah.
Russia?
Yes, like self-service or something like that.
Well, I think
Yeah.
it's like if you have people over in the country, you set out a big table of all these little bowls and people kind of pick and have little bits here and there. So
Oh, okay, okay, okay. I got it. Yeah, yeah. I got it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
can you what is Russian cuisine? And do people still eat it regularly to go out?
Um, you know, yes, there is a meaning of Russian cuisine, of course, because we had a long history, and there are lots of local products that can bring and open the history of the country and of the cuisine as itself. But many people uh, used to have Italian food,
Okay.
European food, Western food, because it's well, Russian food doesn't match very good with the wine because
I
if you
see.
have like I forgot the word in English, it's dumpling. It's
Yeah. Hmm.
dumplings. Yeah, yeah, they're quite greedy,
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
soup, so
Yeah.
or like say a borscht, for
Yeah.
example,
Yeah.
or meat. so it's not very comparable with the wine. It's
I see.
difficult to compare with the wine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's fascinating. So what about champagne? Champagne, clearly you guys have a history with champagne. For us, it's been celebrations, but the champenois, of course, are trying to get us to appreciate it as wine and drink it throughout the meal. And Soms love it that way too. Is that happening at all in Russia?
Yeah, yeah. Champagne is quite popular and very good selling. And let's say we noticed that it was increasing for sales
Mm-hmm.
um, since 2015, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like 5 years ago, champagne was very popular and
Uh-huh.
very good selling. Then it was going down because of the price. It was quite expensive,
Yeah.
and the import was slowing down for the champagne. The trend was like for other sparkling wines like Prosecco or Cava or other sparkling wines.
Mm-hmm.
But still, champagne is very, very popular in the restaurants and of course at home. So
Mm-hmm.
you will definitely uh, will buy a bottle of champagne instead of sparkling wine just
Uh-huh.
to celebrate something
Right.
at home.
Right. And what about outside the big cities? Because here it's growing. I mean, we definitely have we have a much better selection in New York than Ohio, but Ohio is starting to have good wine. Around the country is starting
Yeah.
to appreciate wine. Is that happening over there too?
Yeah, yeah. The wine culture in Russia's getting more and more popular, and it's getting better, to my opinion. And let's say very big cities like Novosibirsk, Vladivostok, St. Petersburg, of course, and others like Kaliningrad, like Nizhny Novgorod, are getting involved in the wine culture, and they are now not looking only for semi-sweet wine, for example,
Yeah.
or yeah, they are starting to understand what is Chianti or what is good wine, white wine, or good French wine,
All
some sort of
right.
that.
What
So they're
what
getting in.
what is that with sweet red wine? I was in Georgia a couple years ago, and they make a lot of sweet red wine that goes to Russia, and I don't understand that. What is the appeal? I mean, it's not
Yeah.
bad. I don't. Where did that come from historically? Is it sugar as a preservative historically, or what's the story with that?
Um, uh, uh, Actually, I cannot tell you the real story. How was that? Because it was like a stereotype for many people in the Soviet Union
Hmm.
that we have Russian champagne, Sovietskaya,
Oh,
and
right.
also yeah, and Georgian wines like Kinsmarauli or Vazisubani or something like that,
Yeah.
Sapiravi, and that always should be semi-sweet wines.
Hmm.
And the wine culture was so difficult in Russia that they did not understand what kind of good wines can be.
Okay.
So they were looking for tasty, easygoing, and very very cheap wine
I
just to
see.
have some sort of the product. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
that
probably
makes
that was the problem.
that makes a lot of sense. Well,
Yeah.
I'm almost at a half an hour, and I don't want to take too much more of your time. But what
Okay.
is happening? Because I'm in Connecticut, where it's been a week now that restaurants can be open outside, and you
Yeah.
can. I don't know what this means. Retail pickup. You can order a pair of pants and pick it up outside or something. New York is still fully. People are starting to get out. You can buy drinks to go at the restaurants, and you can order food and pick it up outside, but you can't sit down in a restaurant in New York yet. And people are still supposed to stay home in New York City, but in the rest of the country, it's starting to open up. What's happening in Moscow?
Well, actually, almost the same, but except few things. Yeah, our restaurants are working for pickup. I mean, for delivery and also
Hmm.
pick up outside. I'm not sure that they will be open till the end of the summer,
Yeah.
unfortunately. I
Hmm.
mean, for the customers. Um, there are some slight, I forget the word. Well, the restrictions are getting easier and easier these
Hmm.
days, and probably from the 1st of June, many of the small cafes and bars, like not more than 50 square meters, will be
Hmm.
open.
I see.
Yeah, but but the restaurants will be definitely closed till the end of the summer,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
that's what I think too.
Yeah,
And to
yeah,
do,
yeah.
I think this is the case, but like in New York, as it gets warm, people either have summer homes or they have a little vacation and they get out of the city for the summer. That happens also in Moscow, so it gets a little bit
Yes, yes,
quieter.
yes. Uh, um, well, actually, the restrictions according to sitting at home are
Hmm.
still in the action, but many people can leave their houses and go outside to the countryside
Yeah,
and moving around the city. So
yeah.
I hope this will end soon.
Yeah, it's starting to happen. It's a little almost
Yeah,
in a
yeah.
way it's like you've gotten used to being at home. Now it's like, oh, what's next? What's new? And so it's a little I'm a little anxious about it, but I'm glad it's happening. So it's fun to watch.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
We're also waiting for this moment very much because we want to go outside and yeah, to start a normal
yeah.
life again.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, I'm going to let you go. It has been so nice to see you. Just to chat with a friend has been great. But
Yeah.
it's been really good to hear about the wine scene in Russia because we were
Thank
so
you. Thank
busy
you
in
very much.
Italy. We didn't really get a chance to say, hey, what do you like? What are you doing? You know, all that. So this was great. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Jeff.
Talk to you soon.
Stay
Bye
safe.
bye.
Yeah, sure. Bye bye. Bye bye.